Good morning. My name is Ben Holquist, and I use he, him pronouns. I serve as one of your board of trustee members, and I'm happy to welcome you to Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Longtime members and new visitors alike, you are welcome here. Whether you're joining us here on site in the sanctuary or online in another location, we're glad you're here today. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders, and love is the power that holds us together. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. You are welcome just as you are. If this is your first time with us, I bid you a special welcome. I'm so glad that you found your way to our community. After the service, I will be in the back of the sanctuary, right over there, back corner, to answer any questions you may have about the Unitarian Universalism, about our congregation, or if you have any want to talk about how to get involved in our community. Please feel free to join me. For those of you who are here in the sanctuary, we have hearing-assisted devices and large print hymnals available in the back of the sanctuary. Our ushers would be happy to help you with these. For our service this morning, our online chat chaplain will help guide our online folks, and for those of us on site, we'll be utilizing the screen behind me to project the words for our unison readings and lyrics for our hymns. You can also follow along in the printed order of service. I will note that the third hymn today is not in the hymnal, and so it will just be in the video that is leading it. The video will have the lyrics. Also on the order of service, you can find information about our website, tahomauu.com, some upcoming events and volunteer opportunities, and a QR code that will take you to our weekly e-news. If you aren't yet signed up for the e-news, you can do that today so you don't miss a thing. There are many ways to become more involved and deeply connected to our spiritual community. I will just mention a couple. We are, as always, looking for people to volunteer to be celebrants and chat chaplains and help out with the service in general. If anybody would like to volunteer for that, I'll be in the back, or you can speak to any of the other volunteers that you see around here, and we can help you get involved. Is Lauren here? No. Lauren is trying to pull together the choir and also a parents group. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask, let a board member know, or we'll pass on any messages to Lauren. You're also invited to join us for a social hour immediately following, the service right here in the sanctuary. There will be a coffee and refreshments, and it's a great time to catch up or to get to know someone new. For those of you who are visiting or who are new to our community, we have red coffee mugs for you if you'd like to identify yourself and chat. Lastly, friends, I invite you to set your electronic devices to worship mode. We are gathered here, one community together. Let us settle ourselves into the holy moment and open our hearts to learn and unlearn, to share and receive. I'm excited that our speaker today is Reverend Nancy Reid-McKee. She uses she, her pronouns and recently retired from the North Lake UU Church in Kirkland, Washington. Prior to ministry, she worked as a nurse practitioner for 30 years on Indian reservations, public health clinics, and in the Veterans Administration Health Services. She is also trained as a community organizer and has been active in social justice work for decades. Reverend Nancy attended the Star King School for Ministry, graduating in 2018. She did her internship at the UU congregation at Shelter Rock in New York and has served our faith tradition as president of the Star King Graduate Association, vice president of the UU Women's Federation, and currently serves as the chair of the UU Commission on Social Witness. I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from occupied Puyallup and Coast Salish ancestral lands. I pay respect to elders, past and present, and extend that respect to their descendants and all Indigenous peoples. Now, let us join together in worship.
Good morning. There is too much beauty in this world to give up on it. Yet it is always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, or your bitterness. But in the midst of these, in the center with tender fingers, around that still, bright thread of hope, feel in your heart the still steady hunger for something more. The vision, the glimpse every day in the rising sun across those foothills, the light that spreads across the face of the one we love. The look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life, just as it is, just as we are. For this hour, we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, us keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. Come, let us worship together.
I would like to invite Scott up to light the chalice for us today. You'll join me in our words. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. And now if you'll rise in body or spirit for hymn 128 in the blue hymn.
For all that is our life, we sing words and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks to all that is our life. For sorrow we must hear, failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fear of hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift which we are called to use to build our common good and make our own days glad.
And now I'd invite people of all ages to come up and join us for a time for all ages.
Hello? Okay, now we go. All right. I'm going to read a story today. Oh, we got more people. Come on out. I'm going to read this story today. This is called Shirley Chisholm Dared, and it's by Alicia Williams and April Harrison. Have any of you heard of who Shirley Chisholm is before? Anyone here? Raise your hand. Yeah, you have. You have. You have. All right. All right. I'm going to read. This is about her story, and I want you to think about this. And then you might have questions at the end, or I might ask you something. And if I forget to show you the pictures, remind me to turn this book around so you can see what I'm reading, okay? Every day over dinner, Shirley Chisholm's father asks what she's learned. Every day, Shirley offers details. And every day he tells her, study and make something of yourself. And in the evenings, Shirley listens in as her father and his friends discuss politics, how poor people are being mistreated, and what folks should fight for, and that folks should fight for their rights. She hears the names of famous people, like W.E.B. Du Bois, who spoke for Negro rights, and Marcus Garvey, who spoke of Black pride. There they are discussing things at the table. By the time Shirley begins high school, her mother is warning, you come straight home, focus on your homework and piano practice, no pop music, absolutely no boys. Do you guys hear stories like that? Yeah, do your parents say that? Shirley breaks curfew. She lets boys walk her to the door, and instead of classical music, she listens to jazz. That young lady is rebellious. Mother tries to explain that she's strict because she wants Shirley to grow up and be someone. Now, we're moving on in time. Let's meet 17-year-old Shirley. See, here she is looking bigger. And she's getting ready to go to school. She's attending Brooklyn College. She studies sociology and Spanish. It isn't acceptable for Black women to study politics or law. But that doesn't stop her from joining the Political Science Society. And after graduation, Shirley tries to get a job as a teacher, but over and over, she's told that she does not look old enough. She finally exclaims to a nursery school director, give me a chance to find out whether I can do the job. That woman is persistent, all right? So now we know she's rebellious, and now we know she's persistent. And on the spot, the director of Mount Calvary Child Care Center hires Shirley as a teacher's aide. And here she is going to school and work on the subway. You see? All right. Let's see what she's doing. After work, Shirley travels for more than an hour by subway to take classes at Columbia University Teachers College. She attends political meetings, too. When she has a question, Shirley bravely thrusts her hand into the air. She asks, where's the money to make schools better in the Bedford-Stuyvesant community? Why isn't trash picked up regularly? Why can't Ben-Stuy have as much police protection as the other districts? That woman is persistent. Politicians promise to help, but they don't. So Shirley joins the 17th Assembly District Democratic Club during a time when women members can only do chores like writing thank you cards. Each year, the club holds a banquet to raise money, and the donations are collected in cigar boxes. Guess what Shirley's role was? She got to decorate the cigar boxes. She paints glue, and she puts on pictures, and she makes the boxes so dazzling that people can't help but give money. Still, Shirley wants to know, why are only women making cards and decorating boxes? Why should we put up with this? Yeah, echo the other woman, why should we put up with this? Shirley is a troublemaker. Finally, the club sends a letter thanking Shirley for her hard work and kicking her out. Shirley isn't bothered. After all, people don't have to be members to attend meetings or to ask questions, right? Because we already know she's persistent. When she's 25 years old, Shirley Hill marries her college sweetheart, Conrad Chisholm. See, there they are, getting married. Meet Shirley Chisholm now, a busy young woman who still asks way too many questions. Teaching now takes over her life. At 29, she becomes director of the Friend in Need Nursery School, and a year later, director of the Hamilton-Madison Child Care Center. And here she is out in her community now. What do the signs say there? Can you read them? Vote. Vote. You're right. I don't know who Tom Jones is. He's not running this year, I'll tell you that. You're going to have to come back and tell us next week who Tom Jones is. In her community, politicians keep making promises, yet nothing changes. So Shirley steps her white Oxford heels back into politics. She helps create the Unity Democratic Club. She works to organize after-school programs for kids and improve housing conditions for inner-city neighborhoods. She organizes voters, stuffs envelopes, and circulates petitions. How many people here in this room do things like that? Put out petitions and stuff envelopes and get people to go vote. Yeah. A seat in the New York State Assembly opens, but there's only one problem. It is always being made up of daring, rebellious, persistent white men. Shirley is not deterred. During the campaign, words, and more words are thrown at her. Can you read what these guys are saying? He's saying? Have you cooked your husband's breakfast yet? Shouldn't be your big... That's right. That's right. That's where a woman should be, taking care of their husbands and cleaning the house. Shirley hears only the most important words from her father long ago. Make something of yourself. Election night, 1964. The votes are tallied. 18,149, 18,150, 18,151, 20,957 votes are cast. And Shirley Chisholm wins by more than 16,000. Yay! Over the next 3 years, Shirley introduces bills to help disadvantaged students pay for college and to give unemployment insurance to domestic workers. She speaks up so much that the assemblymen complain. When she refuses to follow their rules, they call her a bossy troublemaker. We already knew that, didn't we? When she challenges them, they mutter that she doesn't belong. So what does Shirley do? You know? She runs for U.S. Congress. That's what troublemakers do. She posts signs and hands out flyers, talks to ladies sitting on park benches and men standing on street corners, visits housing projects, churches, and living rooms too. She works and works and works. Her campaign slogan is, unbought and unbossed. Her fellow assemblymen refuse to support her. Even reporters ignore her, only interviewing her opponent. Shirley protests. Who are you, they retort, just a little school teacher who happened to go to the assembly. Hasn't Shirley helped students go to college? Hasn't she proposed bills to fund daycare centers? Hasn't she organized rallies, driven voters to the polls, and fought for the rights of the poor? But could she, dare she, win? Election night. The voters are tallied. This is in 1968. 34,883, 34,884, 38,885, 52,433 votes are cast. Shirley Chisholm wins by more than 21,000 votes. Yay! This daring, rebellious, persistent troublemaker is the first African-American woman elected to Congress, and she never stopped asking questions. And that's the story of Shirley. Does anyone else know what else Shirley did after that? She kept going. What do you think she did? Yes. She did a victory dance. That's it. She kept asking questions. And kept winning the votes. Not all the votes. She was the first person who ran for, first woman who ran for the president's, the Democratic nomination for president in 1972. She didn't win, but she set a standard for what we're still aiming for today, right? All right. And she kept asking questions. Thank you for being here. I would like to invite everyone to stand and form an arch, and we'll sing the children out to their school.
And now's the time when we invite everyone, whether you're at home online or in the sanctuary, to help support Tahoma UU. And you can do that if you're in the sanctuary. There should be some baskets coming around for your donation. If you want to do it online, you can go to tahomauu.com. There's a button at the top of the web page that says giving, and you can click on that and read the directions. I believe it's a blue button somewhere on that page that shows how you can donate to carry on our congregation. And we thank you.
And if you would join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offering to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And if you'll rise in body or spirit for hymn 318, We Would Be One.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymns of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. Why would we run in living for each other to show to all a new community? We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world that we have known today. We should be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge our surrogate service with love and justice tries to make us free.
Our reading today is Active Hope by Joanna Macy. Active hope is not wishful thinking. Active hope is not waiting to be rescued by some savior. Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life on whose behalf we can act. We belong to this world. The web of life is calling us forth at this time. We've come a long way and are here to play our part. With active hope, we realize that there are adventures in store, strengths to discover, and comrades to link arms with. Active hope is a readiness to discover the strengths in ourselves and in others, a readiness to discover the reasons for hope and the occasions for love, a readiness to discover the size and strength of our hearts, our quickness of mind, our steadiness of purpose, our own authority, our love for life, the liveliness of our curiosity, the unsuspected deep well of patience and diligence, the keenness of our senses, and our capacity to lead. None of these can be discovered in an armchair or without risk.
So last December, I attended a monthly gathering of the local clergy, local Christian clergy in Kirkland. At the meeting, the beginning of the meeting, I asked, so should we start setting up the schedule for 2024 to plan the ecumenical activities we'll all be working on together? Things like Good Friday, Pride Day. And then someone mentioned that we should probably do an election night vigil, something our faith community could do together. And my stomach just dropped. There's a real possibility that this year our country could be voting in a fascist system. And we can't afford to be passive about this. Whatever we each may believe about the power of prayer, I would urge us to do more than just pray the night before the election. I think that we need to pray and act. Now, I know there's concern whenever anyone brings up politics in our church space. We become very concerned about our tax exempt status, that it might be jeopardized if we endorse one candidate over another. So is it appropriate for us to talk about politics? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. From the pulpit, I won't talk about particular politicians or particular political parties, but I don't need to, right? Because this is more than about the particulars. It's about the political system that is out of control. And it is about extremism that is staring us into possible cataclysmic times. Guided by our values and our principles as religious people, we are compelled to talk about the political forces that are at play right now. As a religious community, we are obligated to assert our values. American politics is coming perilously close to supporting false beliefs and dangerous practices. And we as religious people need to be clear about our personal values, about our principles and our convictions, so that we can be leaders in steering this country away from danger. The upcoming election is very much about the survival of democracy. 8 years ago, we experienced firsthand a conservative administration that began the process of eroding democracy, demonstrated by such things as creating detention centers at our southern borders, establishing a special military force, ICE, that works outside the conventional criminal justice system, and by undermining the systems that support the social welfare and safety of the poor and marginalized of our citizens. Then these last 4 years, we've had some semblance of what normal feels like again, right? And it's reassured some of us. Perhaps democracy is solid and reliable again. We have to remind ourselves, though, that there continues to be a real and concerted effort that threatens democracy. There's been recent attention to the publication titled Project 2025. How many here know of Project 2025? Thank you. Only 30% of the people in this country are aware of this publication. It's been around for several years, but it's only recently that it's been gaining more attention. Project 2025 is an extensive collection of documents created by the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. Its purpose is to provide a framework for policies and actions for the next conservative president who takes office. While it's not the official Republican platform, it was largely written by former members of the conservative Trump administration, along with other conservative groups who have created a 4-pillar approach to insinuate themselves not only into the policy-making structure of the next conservative president, but also into the selection of only president loyalists to federal positions, and attempting to give the executive branch of our government unilateral power, eliminating our current 3-branch system, which is the judicial, legislative, and executive. And we rely on this 3-branch system for the checks and balances of power needed to assure fair and equal governance for all. Democracy relies on distribution of power, and elevating the executive branch creates a hierarchy that moves us closer to fascist governance. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into fascism here, but I urge you to look at Yale professor Jason Stanley's work, studying with a short video called The 10 Tactics of Fascism, and his book that's very short and easy to read called How Fascism Works, which provides an excellent overview along with a disturbing correlation between the conservative agenda and fascist practices. In his book, Jason Stanley writes, and I quote, "The dangers of fascist politics come from the particular way in which it dehumanizes segments of the population. By excluding these groups, it limits the capacity for empathy among citizens, leading to the justification of inhumane treatment, from repression of freedom, mass imprisonment, and expulsion, to, in extreme circumstances, mass extermination. Now, I have to say, while I'm arguing we must all defend democracy, I have to admit my own ambiguity about this. I have to admit that American democracy is not practiced in a way that I can wholeheartedly endorse. Somewhere along the way, American democracy has become synonymous with capitalism and synonymous with a presumptive arrogance regarding the rest of the world. And this holds very little appeal to me. I guess I might agree with Winston Churchill, who is famous for this quote: "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." What does appeal to me is the experiment of democracy with its possible promise of pluralism. And by that, I mean a country where people of all social classes, religions, races, genders, and identities are together while still holding their different traditions, cultures, and interests. That is a vision of democracy I can endorse. I like democracy as a verb, a goal to strive for, more than as a noun, a title that we can claim. We don't yet have a pluralistic democracy, but that doesn't mean we give up on it, right? It means we apply ourselves to our ideals even harder. Now, you may ask, and it's a legitimate question, about what the topic of democracy has to do with church. Why is this coming up in the place where we come to worship and to renew our spirits? While I do believe that democracy is an issue of how we live our faith, I also believe that this is a spiritual issue that impacts the soul of each of us here and the soul of our nation. No matter which side of this escalating division we're on, all of us, each of us here, are responding with fear and anxiety, disbelief, denial. How do we live in this fraught time without becoming angry people, disbelievers, fearful people? How do we maintain our personal integrity, being the people who we want to be in this world? I'm talking here about our spirit. How do we ground ourselves in such a way that we respond out of love for each other, our love for the world, and how do we respond in healthy, sustainable ways? There's no benefit to learn about the threat to democracy and the hallmarks of fascism if it only perpetuates fear and anxiety and leads to diminishing our adherence to our values. All this knowledge doesn't help. Joanna Macy, in her book, Act of Hope, argues that we are in a time of immense upheaval. She calls this time the Great Turning. She likens this to other historic times of great social change, such as the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution, times of great global social shifts. As the world unravels around us, Macy identifies 3 dimensions about how we must respond to these times. The first dimension is holding actions. Holding actions. The actions we take to hold back and slow down the damage being done. These actions involve things most of us already do, as boycotts and protests and legal proceedings and petitions. The second dimension is to shift toward life-sustaining systems and practices. This means rethinking how we approach the healthcare system, our banking and investment practices, how we do business, agriculture, transportation, and so many other structures that over time have become detrimental instead of life-sustaining. And the third dimension is a shift in consciousness toward a deeper, connected identity. At the core of this is the deep wellspring of caring and compassion we each hold for one another. We need to deepen our sense of belonging to each other, belonging to this world. And we do this by devoting ourselves on a regular practice to practices that reconnect us to our hearts, to our minds, to our views of reality. These are practices that resonate with our spiritual nature and that call us back to living according to our values, living according to our hearts. Years ago, the Unitarian Universal Association launched a national advertising campaign for our faith tradition. When asked the question, what is the saving message of this faith? The response was to nurture the spirit and to help heal the world. To nurture the spirit and to help heal the world. This simple statement sums up this faith for me and incorporates the dimensions of action that Macy describes. It's all about healing our spirits, our relationships with each other and our world. This is why we are here in this religious community, to do this work together. We openly face what's happening here in this country. We need to acknowledge it, and we need to grieve together. And this is why more than ever, we need to pray. We need to practice gratitude, practice listening to each other's heart stories, because we need practices that deepen our souls and waken our hearts. We need to sustain ourselves and each other as we work toward healing and restoration. And that is why we need to examine democracy and examine our political resolve, because we are all here part of this great turning toward holding, turning toward sustainability, turning toward deepening consciousness. What am I asking of us each here today? I'm asking that this year, we each commit to practices that will sustain us, both at a personal and a social level. Pray, meditate, do yoga, sit in nature, breathe, join rituals of lament, vigils, protests, boycotts, and actions. This year, be deliberate. Nurture your spirit and help heal this world. Let's take some time to set an intention. We're going to do this through a time of reading and reflection as I read these words by Mark Bellantini. But first, let's take a moment just to be present in this space. Feel yourself settle into the chair you're on. Rest your eyes. Breathe in and out a few times. Relax your jaw. Loosen your shoulders. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Breathe. And listen to these words. When the machetes of injustice tear apart the fabric of the nation and the world, I speak up. When the sunset resembles purple and orange vines entwined like lovers, I sigh in silence. When the mud of deception and trickery smear the mirror of public life, I speak up. When the moon rests like a thin slice of lemon in the sparkling glass of morning, I smile in silence. When the insecure bully me, or the greedy clutch at the common purse, I speak up. When a song lifts my soul aloft like a lark, I swoon in silence. When wars and rumors of wars destroy the hope and lives of children, I speak up. When I'm overcome by the sheer reality of a communion of life connecting every woman, man, and child in this one whole earth, I give thanks in silence. When I am restrained by systems of control, manipulation, denial, and duplicity, I speak up. When words cease, the breath moves deep and slow, the inner and outer are as one for a time, I wonder in deep, deep silence. And now I invite you back to this space. And I ask you to join me in singing our closing song. The lyrics will be on the screen behind me as we play this video. This is called We Shall Be Known and is famous for being sung by the group Mimuse. I invite you to rise if you're willing and able, but feel free to sit if you need to.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
You may be seated. My friends, there is a power at work in the universe. It works through human hands. It is not made by human hands. It is a creative, sustaining, and transforming power, and we can trust that power with our lives and with our ministries. It will sustain us whenever we take a stand on the side of love, whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk. Trust in that power. We are together held by that power. Blessed be.
I would invite you to read our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If we will join for our closing song.